Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks. On Monday, the 5th day of February, year of our Lord 2018, welcome to the John Moore Show. Proper tip of the day. I need to mention this fairly frequently because it is so very, very important. And start out with this. Listen carefully. Human beings cannot live without salt. This is a true statement. Human beings cannot live without salt. One of the earliest ways that pioneer families established a family fortune was they were the first ones to get to the salt licks first. And when they were traveling west across these areas in the wilderness back there in the early part of the 19th century. In fact, you probably heard of Daniel Boone. I'm sure everybody's heard of Daniel Boone. The Boone family got to the salt first in St. Charles County, Missouri, to establish the family fortune by getting there first. So the proper tip of the day is to get yourself a supply of salt. Comes in 50-pound bags, very inexpensive. I would say at least 10 bags. That'd be 500 pounds of iodized salt. You need iodized salt in the middle of the country here. And it's a win-win situation. It's inexpensive now, will be quite valuable later. Bugs won't bother it. Cold doesn't bother it. Heat doesn't bother it. At the time being, nobody's going to try to steal it because it's too heavy and too cheap to be worthwhile for thieves. So that's your prep tip of the day. Get yourself at least a minimum of a 500-pound supply of iodized salt. Put it away for a future use, and you'll be very glad you did. We have a patient waiting in the green room, my friend Jimmy Gensling. Jimmy is the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. And this is Firearms Monday, when we talk about anything and everything related to rifles, shotguns, pistols, ammunition, optics, the gun culture, gun laws. And good morning, Jimmy.
Good morning, sir. And, a little point there before I get to our firearms tip of the week. The Roman soldiers were quite often paid in salt.
Depending on where they were. If they were near the Mediterranean, they probably weren't, because there would be salt readily available. But if they were some distance away from the ocean, then salt became very valuable. So yes, exactly. There were times. In fact, there's a TV series that I've got on my Roku device here. I think it's on Amazon, called Britannia. It just began last month, and they show early in the first episode. They show what they call salt farmers. These were men and women who harvested salt from the ocean there on the coast of England 2,000 years ago. And that still goes on today in parts of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Where men and women harvest salt from the ocean, they package it up, and they sell it. In fact, you can purchase salt harvested in that manner at your local supermarket.
Yep. And now the salt is going to play into what we're going to talk about today, John, and that's just how Providence works. But if you also want to see a very interesting one, I think the video, it's on YouTube. A friend of mine sent it to me several years ago, and the reason he sent it to me was that the Polar Star, one of the Coast Guard icebreakers, actually filmed part of the video when there was some kind of a disaster or something on board their ship, and they lended some aid to it with their helicopter and then went on. But I believe it belongs to the Chinese, and it's called the video I think is called The Salt Ship. And this is, people are familiar with the Chinese and their whaling processing ships and their offshore fishing ships that process can and everything, the catch right there. This one actually harvests sea salt, tons a day. And fascinating, ladies and gentlemen, something you need to see. Also, everyone is aware that the memo is out, and thanks to our fine webmaster, Tim, if you go to deserteagleshooters.com, and at the very top of the page, right under the eagle, you will see a link to the memo. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the unedited full version. So if you want to know what the memo actually says without commentary, you can go to our webpage, link on it, and read it for yourself. It's quite enlightening. Firearms tip of the week. And this goes to the stock market. Not the stock market on Wall Street, but the stock market in your armory or your ammo room. A lot of people during the ammunition scares or the threats and everything started stocking up on ammunition. Once things have calmed down, they slack off. I'd like to suggest to everybody that, take your account, take what you have available. If you're on a fixed income, it might be less than someone that's working 60-hour, 70-hour weeks, as we know some are. But look at your budget and take out what you give for God first and what you save second. Take care of your bills and look what's left, and delegate an amount of that money a month to keep your ammunition supplies up. And the reason I say that, there's rumors that with the closing the lead mine that Obama closed, what was it, last year or the year before, the last lead mine in the United States?
No. That's not what closed. And this is, what was closed is in the same town I went to high school in. What was closed was the one and the only lead smelter in the United States. They took the lead ore and turned into lead. The lead mines are fine. I have lead mines within a 15-minute drive of me. The lead mines are fine. They're operating every day of the week. No worry, mate. But
it's the smelter.
Lead ore that hasn't been refined is pretty much just a nice rock to look at. There's not much you can do with it.
Mm-hmm. I stand corrected. But there are indications that Trump is having some difficulty getting that smelter back in operation. Don't know why. But
I can make a phone call. I can make a phone call and find out, because guys I went to high school with are still working there.
I'd appreciate it, because I've heard two different stories this weekend, and since you've got first-hand knowledge is much more valuable than third or fourth or even rumor.
Well, you call up one of your high school buddies, you're going to get the real skinny. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, sir, and I appreciate that, because I would really like to know. I've got several people that this weekend questioned me on it. But I have always, especially my training ammunition, 45, 40 Smith & Wesson, 9mm, 45 ACP, 5.56, 30, whatever it is that you use to train with, make that at least half of your ammunition order a month. And the other half, you can either continue to supplement it with training ammunition, but I suggest that you supplement it with hunting and utility ammunition, so that constantly you're adding to your stockpile and not a constant depletion of it. At some point in time, ladies and gentlemen, it's very possible that just like salt was used as money, ammunition can be very valuable as money as well. So, just a food for thought there. Now, John started off with salt, and I was actually looking over some notes and looking up something for myself over the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever celebrated St. Patty's Day and had corned beef and cabbage?
Oh yeah, I think it's hard to have not done that at least once in this country.
At least once in your time, and most people, not all, enjoy corned beef. Myself, I love it. It's just one of those things that I was raised on, and it's part of my life. Corned beef has absolutely nothing to do with feeding the cows corn, ladies and gentlemen. Corned beef is actually preserved in a process known as corning. Now, on Tim's thumb drive, I found a couple of different references in there under food preservation that it mentions corning. And when you look at it, it is the process of brining meat and preserving it. So, cabbage, when it's corned, becomes sauerkraut. It's brined. So That is a skill, ladies and gentlemen, on your salt. It doesn't hurt sometimes to actually get a little bit of rock salt in there and use it in your preservation of your meat. And so you get a chance, if you've got Tim's thumb drive, look at the food preservation stuff. If not, you can go to Tim's webpage, ruralsurvival.com, and he's got tons of information in there. You can put in corning or food preservation. Reason I'm bringing this up, most folks and everything think about starving through the wintertime and by not putting food back. In the wintertime, if you take game, especially north of us, because today it's going to be 77 degrees, and it's cold, and you've got snow on the ground, or at least, maybe no snow on the ground, but at least it's going to be, the high is going to be in the 40s or whatever. The deer, rabbits, turkey, whatever game that you take can be stored outside in a protected area and remain frozen or cool at the very least, and be preserved until you can process it. One of the quickest way to process meat like that for long-term storage is jerking meat, making jerky. And again, Tim's thumb drive and also this webpage has got all kinds of recipes and stuff in there for making jerky. In preserving your food, ladies and gentlemen, you preserve your family. It's hard to hunt when you've had an empty stomach for a week or 2 weeks or something like that. Your aim is not going to be as accurate. Protecting your family is not going to be nearly as easy. And so we look at the food aspect. John has repeatedly asked you to check your stores, look at your food supplies, and plan ahead. We all plan ahead that we've got guns and ammunition. We can take game, birds, deer, rabbit, whatever. And if you're in the country, that's highly possible. If you're anywhere within 50 miles of a city, that's going to be very difficult because every living thing is going to be harvested or confiscated within the first week or two, if that. But if it's springtime and you run upon a deer and you're able to take it to feed your family and everything, and out here in New Mexico, John, the funnest part is I send pictures of our mule deer to our friends that live back east and in the southern parts, and they think it's an elk.
Right.
Our mule deer out here, ladies and gentlemen, run on the average of 180 pounds for a mature buck, 4-point buck. And I have seen some that tip 250 pounds, 275 pounds. And you have that much meat, the last thing you want to do is waste it. So you look at the Indian lifestyle, the nomads, they didn't waste a thing. They used the bones, they used everything on that animal. And if you've got the means to reserve it, you can jerk the meat, which is dried. Drawback from that is you need water to, even if you're eating it, just as jerky, you're going to need water to replenish it. So if you don't have a readily water source, it adds a new caveat to it because you're going to get thirsty as you eat. Your body's going to need the water to digest. So by brining meat and preserving it in other means that don't need refrigeration, that's your tip of the week, is to look at ways of preserving your game other than in a wintertime situation. So it's kind of a twofer today, John. Keep your ammunition stockpiles up and learn new ways to preserve meat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that is good advice. Absolutely. Well, I know you've got your finger on the pulse of some of these legislative matters. I understand the two that are at the national level that are being watched. One is the nationwide reciprocity for concealed carry. The other is the Hearing Protection Act. Do you have any updates on either one there, Jimmy?
In the sense, here in New Mexico, it's beating a dead horse. So what I do is I contact Republican senators from other states and prod them. And, of course, the Senate, darn brain dump, Connolly, call his office because he is the leader of the Senate, ladies and gentlemen. You are also his constituent. You don't have to live in his state. He runs the Senate. That means he answers to everybody in all 57 states, to quote our previous POTUS. So call him, call your local senators. If you've got a Democrat senator that is coming up for election, threaten him with replacing him. Do whatever you have to do. This has to get back out in the forefront. With everything that happened after the beginning of the year, ladies and gentlemen, the Hearing Protection Act, the National Reciprocity, both have just slid off into the shadows, and they're sitting there. And we need to get those. In fact, I think they're both out of committee right now. So they're just waiting to go to the floor to get cleared for a vote and then get voted on. So both of those situations, ladies and gentlemen, we need to pay attention to. We need to get back. This is February, second month of the year. The January surprises and excitement and everything is over with. Let's get back to business. Congress is back in business. They're not. I don't think they have any vacations until, I think, Easter. So let's get back and hammering them on that. The other thing also on our webpage, ladies and gentlemen, just below the note on the memo, there is a note that ATF put out, and they're still taking comment on this, about the bump stocks. Ladies and gentlemen, a bump stock is a novelty. No serious rifleman. Break.
Yeah, we have a break. We'll talk about bump stocks when we come back. Call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 5th of February, visiting with Jimmy Ginsling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. Jimmy, I want to get back to the bump stock thing a little bit. I'll begin here. My kid brother, who has extremely limited knowledge of firearms, great guy, great husband, hard worker. He just never has been part of the gun culture and knows almost nothing about firearms. He and I were talking, and he was advocating that bump stocks be made illegal, which I'm sure many people who are unknowledgeable feel that way. there's a however coming. However, anybody with minimal training with a centerfire rifle up there on that hotel room could have murdered probably 2 to 3 times as many people with aimed, carefully aimed shots, about 2 to 3 seconds apiece. Given the conditions that were there, the number of people all clustered together, and so forth. So 58 people died. Carefully aimed shots from a rifle that did not have a bump stock would have resulted in far more fatalities, in my opinion, as compared to the spray that was done with the bump stock mechanism, which wounded several hundred people, but I think murdered 58, if I recall correctly. Your follow-up, sir.
Oh, exactly. I agree with you 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever been to an Appleseed, congratulations. If you haven't been, I urge you to locate one. Appleseedinfo.org is the webpage. One of the part of the training that you receive is when they start discussing the rifleman's cadence. And the rifleman's cadence, and you'll see competitive shooters in rapid fire events use this consistently. Every time that you reach your natural respiratory pause, you're actually squeezing the trigger and taking a shot on your target. That's what John is talking about, controlled fire. If you have an experienced shooter that is dead set on inflicting mayhem, that would be the way to do it. If you own a bump stock, then you know exactly what John and I are talking about. It's a very unique novelty. Because after you spend about $150 spraying bullets all over the place and hitting the target once, if at all, you'll find out what quite a novelty it is. And like most people that own one, usually pretty shortly they'll look to sell it because they've experienced it. Yes, it was fun. Yes, it cost them a lot of money, not only to get it, but the ammunition they just wasted. And move back to controlled fire.
Right.
So,
the victims, let me interrupt you here, Jimmy. The victims in Las Vegas, the ones that survived, the victims in Las Vegas should be grateful that Paddock had a bump stock as opposed to shooting the rifle the way they came from the factory, which would have resulted in 2 to 3 times more fatalities.
Exactly. And on my webpage, there is a ATF request for comment. And it's right there. The whole thing is right on the another link. Just go to deserteagleshooters.com, and just below the eagle is the link to the memo, and then right below that is the letter from ATF with the questions. That is directed primarily dealers, but as anyone knows that's been to a gun show and everything, if you take your personal arms or your personal equipment, ammunition that you've bought or whatever to a gun show and sell it, you're considered a dealer. So you have just as much right as anyone else to comment on that. And the problem is this, ladies and gentlemen. The Feinstein Amendment to eliminate bump stocks or to put them into the under full ATF control, it is a step, and then you read her documentation. It's the devil is in the details, because it's addressing any accessory to a rifle or shotgun or firearm that can increase the rate of fire or mimic this. And the language is so vague that if you decided you didn't like the factory stock that was on your AR and decided to buy another one, or if you had your trusty old Model 700 Remington rifle and you ordered a new stock and put a new stock on it, a thumb hole target stock, break,
We have a break. Call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 5th day of February. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. Scroll down a little bit. In the middle of my homepage, you'll find the banner for the Hear the Watchman Conference in Dallas, Texas, March 22nd to the 25th. I am the keynote speaker. There's a promotion code there for you to get $20 off the conference rate or 20% off the live stream cost. So a good way to save some money there. It's going to be a great event, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you there. We also have a new image as of last week of North America with new coastlines from the hugely popular, if you weren't watching this TV show at the time, back in the 1950s, Sea Hunt, starring Lloyd Bridges. One of those episodes, turns out there might be another episode, but this one episode we recovered from May of 1959. It's a great image. It is the Navy map. So this project moves forward. If you find one yourself, get me a screen capture of that, a screenshot of that image. Get that to me. You get your choice of any of my 5 DVDs as a thank you. Also, my website, of course, are energy cleaners. This is my home business. And if you place your order, I'm the guy that boxes them up. I take them to the little country post office in Cherryville, Missouri, and I ship them out. Priority mail. If you have joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain, you need an energy cleaner. Not getting a great night's sleep, and tired of taking prescription sleep medication, you need an energy cleaner. Only $285, shipping included, to American zip codes. The mattress pads that go with it, well, they vary in price depending on what you get: twin, full, queen, king, California king. Everything's right there at my website where you can place your order at thelibertyman.com using PayPal. PayPal, of course, is the most secure way to make any payment online, MasterCard, Visa, and I'll take a check too. My address is there at my website at thelibertyman.com. I have a toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This is Firearms Monday. We're talking with Jimmy Ginsling with Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. Let's continue, Jimmy.
All right, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm avid. I'll talk about that some other time, John. But back to what we were discussing. The call.
Hello, Jimmy.
Way these bills. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, your audio sometimes seems like you're getting a distance from us. I don't know what's going on.
That is so weird. I don't know what's going on. But what we were talking about, ladies and gentlemen, are these bills and calls for controlling bump stocks and everything, the way they don't necessarily mention it as a bump stock. What they do is they mention it as an accessory, and that simple wording, ladies and gentlemen, should throw up every red flag that you know.
That's right.
Because, like I was saying, if you've got an AR platform and you decide to remove the factory stock and put a different one on it, you've got your trusty put a thumb stock on it so you can shoot better. Anything that modifies that could be considered, and all these things are considered accessories, ladies and gentlemen. Unless it's a factory, if it comes to the factory that way, anything that you change on your rifle or handgun is an accessory. And all they've got to do is get their toe in the door on the bump stock, and then they can try to control everything else. If your rifle came with a 5-round magazine and you want to buy a 15-round magazine for it because you're going to shoot in competition, that's an accessory. Limit that. So go over to the website, deserteagleshooters.com, read the ATF, make comments on it, and when I made my comments to them, I explained that, hey, I've bought and sold a few of these over time, and they are a unique novelty. They have nothing to enhance the performance of the rifle. In fact, they degrade it. And that was my comment to them. Now, ATF was forced into this corner because they've already evaluated the bump stock. If I can remember correctly, a total of 6 different times. And every single time, they came to the exact same conclusion. It does not convert a rifle to full auto. It mimics automatic fire. Mimics is the control word there. And it really is truly just a novelty. It's for people that want to spray and pray and have fun.
Right.
So
the typical demographics of somebody who buys one of these devices is a Caucasian male, 18 to 30 years old, maybe a little bit older, but typically a Caucasian male, younger man, who is interested in the novelty and interested in simulating a full automatic fire. And what happens is very close to what you have just outlined earlier there, Jimmy, that they will purchase it, they'll take it to the range, maybe with 2 or 3 of their buddies to impress their buddies about what they've bought. They go through $100 worth of ammunition or $200 worth of ammunition in just a very few minutes. Yuck, yuck, fun, fun, laugh, laugh. Go leave the range, have lunch, and then sell the bump stock.
yeah, that's about and accomplish nothing but making a lot of noise and scattering bullets everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, in fact, I ran into a couple of my friends at a gun show over in Alamogordo a while back, and the subject did come up to the bump stock, and Duck Dog, that is not the name that his mother gave him, that is his nickname, made the comment that the moment the bump stock thing came up, several of them were talking about it, and not one single self-respecting Appleseed instructor would ever even admit to have handled a bump stock, let alone owning one. So that should give you a bit of insight, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Well, I could have bought these things myself, and I looked at them and I thought, why would I do such a thing? Why would I do that? I can't. Mm-hmm. I couldn't think of a reason to do that, so I never did.
And but it's, ladies and gentlemen, I've mentioned Appleseed a couple of times this morning. If Christmas time you bought your son or your daughter their first .22 rifle or whatever, or maybe you were gifted something and you're just the average shooter. Once in a while you go out and go do something, but you would really and truthfully like to become a better shooter and be trained by some of the most professional people I've ever met in my life at a cost that is just absolutely incredible. Look up appleseedinfo.org, put your state in there, and it will list all of the upcoming Appleseed events in your area. And if you live close to the border of another state, then look at the states around you, because you may find that there's one sooner or at a better time that suits you just a few miles over the border and an hour and a half drive. So the Appleseed organization, ladies and gentlemen, is all volunteer. All the instructors that are out there believe so much in the history of riflemen that they devote their time and their energy to go out there and impart on the posterity of our nation, which is our young people and their families, the art of being a marksman. And I do truly call it an art. And that is one of my greatest joys, to be somewhere far from home and see that rifleman patch on somebody's jacket and get to talking to him, and then all of a sudden they start reminiscing about their time at Appleseed and how they went back a second time and took their brother or their wife or something, or their children. And then they went a third time taking friends. And it was several people from the neighborhood. They convinced them and they all went. It's a very necessary thing, ladies and gentlemen, because whereas a bump stock ends up around an Appleseed, you learn control, consistent fire, and you learn to be able to put that round where you want it. Now, in a home defense situation, that can be important. Most of the time you're going to have an adrenaline rush that it's going to be difficult at best. You have to feed your family, or you have to defend your family at distance. It is a skill that there is no price that you can put on it. So I encourage you, if you go there and look and see what's there. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to drop me an email. The contact on the webpage is working okay, but I keep getting hit with trolls. And sometimes I'll have 50, 70 message from it, and every single one of them is a troll. It's not a real person. So if you've got your pen and paper handy, if not, give it one, and I'll give it a couple times today. The email address is Jimmy, which is Jimi, at hdc-nm.com. That's Juliet, India, Mike, India, at Hotel Delta Charlie dash or hyphen New Mexico.com. And I will answer your questions. If you can't find what you're looking for an Appleseed, I will direct it to the right person. And Appleseed will also, if you have no Appleseeds in your area, but you do have a range, or you have a farmer that will allow them to set up a range on, Appleseed will come to you. And they've done this just many, 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 many times. That's how Appleseed got into California. Yes, they do have Appleseeds in California, and even with all their extra hoops. But the instructors at Appleseed and the staff and those that run it and put it together and everything are 100% dedicated. Plus, you'll get one of the most phenomenal educations that you can on how we got to be Americans. There is a history with it, and
okay, we lost Jimmy, I think. It was marginal connection there to begin with, and I believe he's on a cell phone, unfortunately. Maybe he'll get reconnected with us here. If you got a question or comment, this is Firearms Monday. Your call number is 800-313-9443. I know for people just being exposed to the gun culture and the use, the proper and safe use of firearms, it can be pretty daunting. Jimmy, are you back, sir?
Yes, sir. I hate it when that happens. I have no idea what happened.
Well, I want to encourage you to get yourself a landline or get yourself a Skype connection over the internet. I don't know what kind of internet connection you've got there, but Skype is definitely a way to go if you can figure out a way to do that, Jimmy.
I've got a computer that we've downloaded Skype on, but I have to have somebody that knows how to get through a couple of things on it because it will not let me finish setting up. So I just don't have the computer whiz around here that is familiar. I've got guys that are familiar with everything else except Skype. And then the one little computer that will allow me to get on Skype is it's a little laptop, and it's so old that its buffer rate is so slow it doesn't work. So it's it's even running XP.
Right. Well, let's just
an old
make
laptop.
We don't need to discuss engineering here on the air, but let's make that a project and see if we can make that happen, Jimmy.
I will continue to beat the horse.
Well, we got people listening who can comprehend this very well, and they could certainly contact you through your website at deserteagleshooters.com, couldn't they?
Yes, sir. They can, or they can just email me direct. And but, ladies and gentlemen, the Appleseed program, I got involved with that about 11 years ago. And I've been, as most listeners know, I've been a shooter since I was 10. And went through the military, had all my specialty training there and everything. And when I came out, continued my shooting experience and building our business and all that, and I went to my first Appleseed, started off at 8 o'clock in the morning, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, I looked at my wife and my daughter, and I says, I'm in deep doo-doo, because they're talking things I never heard of. And where my wife and my daughter were exceptional students because they didn't have 40-plus years of bad habits to break, I was the one that got regular floggings and continued to be beat upon about the head and shoulders, not physically, ladies and gentlemen, just in fun, until I finally started dropping bad habits and incorporating the good ones. And now the good ones have overtaken the bad ones to where they're second nature. They're automatic, and that's what we shoot for. But
it takes practice. It takes practice to get to that point, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. And one of the easiest practices that you can do, ladies and gentlemen, and they teach you this at Appleseed on the very first day, and it's in one of the drills that we work on at the very beginning, is dry fire practice. You put the ammunition and your magazines, well, some handguns and such, or rifles need a magazine to function, but you make sure that it's a spent magazine, that there's absolutely nothing in it. You make sure that the weapon is clear, then have your wife or your family member or your friend make sure that it's clear, and you do dry fire practice. And what you're doing in dry fire practice is that you are taking these skills that you are taught, and you are perfecting those skills down to where it becomes muscle memory. And then when you go to the range and you're actually putting rounds down range, you start honing those skills that you've been practicing with dry fire and correcting minor things that you may not have noticed in the dry fire practice into procedure. And pretty soon you get to that point to where you can call the shot. And I don't care if that's 25 yards or 100 yards or 200 yards. The skills that you learn at an Appleseed teach you to master what we call the rifleman's quarter mile, which is 500 yards and in.
Hold that thought, Jimmy. The call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back. we're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 5th day of February, visiting with Jimmy Ginsling with Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. It's Firearms Monday. If you've got a question or a comment regarding anything to do with the gun culture, rifles, shotguns, pistols, ammunition, optics, training, legislation, give us a call. It's Firearms Monday. Let's continue, Jimmy.
All right. This morning we kind of have run the gamut around this first hour and everything. But ladies and gentlemen, the one thing, and if you're in your business and everything, and you get a chance to move up the scale, what do you normally do? You sit there and you train a little bit for say you're going for a managerial position. You learn a little bit more about bookkeeping or personnel management, something that will give you an edge over the competition to move up in your field or in the business that you work for. We should always strive as marksmen, and I use that term broadly, but I use it affectionately, because anyone that wants to put the effort in to learn to shoot and shoot properly, I consider a marksman or a marksman in making. Always train. And sometimes you can train by reading a new training manual or a new training technique. Some of them you take with a grain of salt. You have to be careful with some of these charlatans out there. They'll promote things that maybe not are actually deadly, but they can be dangerous. And point in fact, in Albuquerque a couple of weeks back, they were doing a civilian policing training, introducing people to being observant and assisting police and how they could do it and stuff like that, which included a day at the range. And one of the Albuquerque police sergeants, in holstering his handgun, shot himself in the leg right in front of everybody. And ladies and gentlemen, I've never done that, but I can only imagine the embarrassment, because he was just finishing up the part on safety.
Right. And let me guess, it was a Glock, right?
Yeah, how could you guess?
I don't like Glocks. I really don't like Glocks.
We sell several improvements for the Glock, but most of my friends agree that the best improvement that you can do for a Glock is to jack it up and put a 1911 under it. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on a budget and say it's a 45-minute drive or whatever to the range that you can use or whatever, try to at least, at the very minimum, once a month, schedule a time to go out there for a couple of hours. Don't just punch paper. You can warm up on the target and everything, but take some pop cans, not bottles, not even plastic bottles, please, ladies and gentlemen. Pop cans, soup cans, tennis balls are excellent. Basketballs, baseballs, footballs, things that move. And after you've warmed up on the paper and you make sure that your stance is proper and your sight picture is proper and your trigger pull is proper, then start shooting other objects that you take with you.
There you go. Here's our break. We'll be back after the break. Everybody stay tuned. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 5th day of February. Prepper tip of the day. I want to encourage people to get a good stock of salt in, iodized salt, 50-pound bags, at least 10. It may sound like a lot. 500 pounds of salt is a lot on one hand. On the other, it could become quite valuable if you're 100 or more miles away from the ocean at some future date. It can't go bad, by the way. It will sit there forever. Visiting with Jimmy Ginsling. This is Firearms Monday. If you've got a question or comment, anything related to the guns, the gun culture, optics, legislation, whatever it might be, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Jimmy's the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. We got a caller on hold here, a caller from the city of brotherly love, where they celebrated the game yesterday with fires, mayhem, in Philadelphia, and we have Glenn. Good morning, Glenn. Hello, Glenn.
Greetings. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I'm talking.
We
okay,
got
good.
you.
Hi. Yes. Gotcha. Greetings from the land of the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
Yes.
I live near a very happy city right now. It was really quite remarkable. As I wasn't that thrilled about going into it, but wanted to see the vaunted Eagles defense at work, and certainly Foles now is the guy who can write his own ticket. I know this show's about Pens, but since I'm from Philly, so I hit up on that a bit. Very, very
because
exciting.
the underdog won.
Yes, exactly, and he's a nice guy too. It's not a big egotist or anything, which is really cool.
And the young man actually gave the glory to God.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that's related to guns and the gun culture here is the issue of fear of attacks and stuff. Every time we have a Super Bowl now, we have sort of saber rattling or fear mongering about the possibility of attack at the Super Bowl, and they're hearkening back to the 1975 novel by Thomas Harris called Black Sunday. I remember the cover of it shows, the stadium and a blimp going over and all that kind of stuff. And so that novel was about an attack on the Super Bowl. And I think people tend to attribute that novel to Tom Clancy, but it's not Clancy, it's Harris. But the reason I bring that up is if they can't get you to be afraid about the game itself, then they're going to be afraid that, like Las Vegas, the revelers in the streets are going to get attacked, and this is the same fear, and this is the fear, that people use against the gun culture because some gun nut's going to go out. And just the importance of resistance, harboring within yourself a staunch resistance to fear-mongering and scare tactics and stuff like that. Because even if there is real terrorism, even if occasionally there is a gun nut here or there, it's not coming from the gun subculture. It's the people of the gun subculture are some of the most responsible people, in the country relative to firearms. It's the people who aren't part of the gun culture who are dangerous. So
it's the uneducated ones.
Right. So yeah, exactly. Uneducated and you figure gun culture people are social people. They're going out, they're socializing, learning things, talking. They're not lone weirdos, popping out of the woodwork, to do something horrific. The Super Bowl thing, I just was, in view of all the fear mongering we had, relative to the game, then it didn't work, so they're trying to transplant the fear. Don't submit to the fear. And
exactly.
This is the thing that I want. Yeah, so
I have an interesting fact for you, Glenn.
What's that?
I have a very, very interesting fact, and I've heard this before, but I heard it again over the weekend put a different way. Would you have any idea how many gun crimes, were committed in the last 5 years by individuals with a concealed carry license?
I'd have to go with 0, Alex.
You got it. Give that man a cigar.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the caveat to that, would you happen, and this one I may have a little bit off because there were 2 separate numbers that were given. How many gun crimes were prevented by individuals with a concealed carry license?
Oh, over 1 million. Over 1 million, I'll bet.
That's the figure that they gave last night, was over 1 million. One said it was 200 and something thousand documented, but the other said that it was over 1 million. So, ladies and gentlemen, like Glenn's putting out, get trained and become part of the culture, because if you meet someone that loves guns and loves shooting and you ask them for help, they are going to bend over backwards because you're asking for them to give a little bit of what they know, and they're proud to do it.
Right, exactly. Before I hang up, just real quick, Jimmy, we got to get you either a good quality hardwired headset, a good high quality hardwired headset if you're going to be using a cell phone, and your Skype problems. If you're in touch with a trusted operative word, trusted computer technician with whom you work. One way I do support for family and friends is by using a program called Team Viewer that you install on your computer, and then when you go to log in, the other person can connect to and literally take over and drive your computer remotely. And then, so this is how I solve problems for family members. So if you can find the right person, you could use, it's called host remote computing. Someone can log in and take over your computer. And it's only for that, there's it creates a number that you have to tell the other person on the phone. They punch in and go in and work on it. So I'm relatively sure those are types of technical things that could help. I know you don't want to do that on the air. I'll send you an email.
I'll look into that.
And
sounds good.
I may even be able to help you with your Skype install. I'll have to see. All right. Take care, gentlemen. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care,
Thank you for the call, and we appreciate it. The call number is 800-313-9443. Sometimes people make marksmanship more complex than it needs to be. They go in with preconceived ideas. Something I've noticed with both my male and female students, pistol students, is they got a death grip on this pistol, and you cannot possibly have optimal marksmanship when you grasp that pistol too tightly, can you, Jimmy?
No, sir. In fact, the phrase that we use all the time in Appleseed and everything is a firm handshake grip. And that it takes a while for people to realize that the people that have built these guns, be it a rifle or a pistol, have engineered and spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions over time, in developing grips and grip angles and shapes that allow you to hold the gun comfortably, but also have 100% total control over it during the operation of it. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it's building confidence. That's what you're doing in the entire realm of practice, is you're building confidence in your ability. And cannot stress it enough. I'm trying to work on a page right now, and once Tim can fine-tune it and help me figure out how to do it, we're going to try to start putting up some training pages on the web page that people can go to, and it will explain, what this procedure is going to be dealing with, what you're going to need to do it, set up to do it, and then how to do it, and then evaluate yourself and be able to link back to us for questions or comments or things like that. So that's an improvement in the works right now.
That sounds good.
And
Jimmy, we got a caller on hold.
We got
a caller on hold. On hold. Let's go to Ron in Texas. Good morning, Ron.
Hey, John, this is Ron. What's up, brother? Yeah, this is Ron from Anina for Guns and Ammo. Hey, it's kind of funny this morning you're talking about that ammo. Right off the bat, I was trying to call you, but I had a bad signal, and I'm so sorry. I saw a deal yesterday. I'm getting a lot of stuff on my phone now since I'm starting this business, and they were talking about the small arms. There's some stuff coming up in April, I believe, or in June, and then something else coming up in October. Have you heard that, Jimmy?
That's what I was referring to. I'm trying to run down details. And what he's talking about, John, is because of the smelter issue and a couple of other things, the amount of materials they have on stock right now, it looks like there may be a lull coming up in March, April area on ammunition availability in certain calibers. And unless they can get something to correct it, this may come up into the fall again. So now would be the time, ladies and gentlemen, to go over and visit Wiki Arms and put in your calibers and look at the ammunitions available.
Hey, Jimmy, too, it was nothing to do with the UN. It was to do with the UN. Remember how Obama got us under that, or one of them got us under that UN, the Small Arms Treaty? Yeah, so that's the part that it was mainly talking about when I was reading that last night. That how the UN's going to try and come down on it and enforce that Small Arms Treaty which, you know,
Even though
come
it's
in
not
to the United
ratified.
States. It's not ratified, yes, sir.
Yeah,
I just wanted to push that out for everybody to look up.
Do me a favor, sir.
I pulled it up last night
so I can look at it.
I will email it. I've got it on my phone. Yes, sir. I will get it done after the show. Okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. We
No problem,
appreciate
brother.
the call.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Call number is 800-313-9443.
What he's referring to, John, is I've heard rumors on this, and I'm trying to track down the source. Not being a fearmonger, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take it that way. The part on the availability, I've been looking at to separate those sort of may be associated with, but evidently the way something that Obama put into the wording and accepting and signing this into this small UN small arms treaty, never ratified by the Senate, ladies and gentlemen. All treaties have to be ratified by the Senate. And Obama tried to pull a back door on this, and right now there's a whole lot of fighting on our side, telling them to basically stuff it, and UN is basically trying to claim authority over the situation. And it's a hidden battle, and the reference that I had to on it, John, was a note that someone had received that came directly from Nikki Haley, our UN rep. So it's still out there, and once I get something firm on it, ladies and gentlemen, I will bring it to the show. But right now, it's still an iffy situation on that.
All right.
So,
We're another caller here. We got Scott in Arizona. Good morning, Scott.
good morning, sir.
Oh, good morning. As far as salt, if you're going to store some for canning, you don't want iodine in it, because it turns everything red. So,
Well,
keep
that's good to know. And you need both then, because for health reasons, you need the iodized salt if you're in the middle of the country. But then for canning, you want the plain salt with no iodine.
correct.
Outstanding.
Oh, I got
Good
I'm looking at a pistol, Smith & Wesson M&P, the full-size one in 9mm. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, everybody that now, John teaches a lot of handguns, so he'll probably have the better answer. But from my experience, I've shot several of them, and I've fallen in love with the thing. I really have. I've got big hands, and it's one of the most comfortable handguns, especially in the compact or the concealed carry size that I've ever fired. And my wife Teresa just loves it in 40 Smith & Wesson. I plan on getting her one for a present here someday soon. John, your thoughts on the M&P?
Well, what I suggest to anybody wanting to spend $300 to $600 on a pistol is find a store that has a range that will rent you the pistol, and you take it and put maybe 50 rounds through the same pistol that you intend to purchase before you make that purchase, rather than make the purchase, get to the range, and then find out, man, I really don't like this thing. It's like taking it, you're going to, obviously a pistol's not as much as an automobile, but you always take an automobile for a test drive before you make your purchase. Well, the same thing should apply to a pistol, even though it's maybe $300 to $500 as opposed to $30,000. The same principle applies. Try it out first before you make that purchase, because once it's been shot, you no longer have a new pistol to sell. You've got a used pistol, and that's it. So that's my advice there, Ron. Scott, excuse me.
Ron, question. Are you...
this is Scott. This is Scott.
Scott, I apologize. I followed right after your lead, John. But Scott, are you going to be getting this to a dealer there locally?
Yes. I'm in Arizona. Sholo.
Yeah. What I might suggest is go to your gun shop and explain to them that you've been thinking about this, and ask. I know this guy. If he's going to know which of his customers has one of the particular model that you're looking at, and have him put you in contact with him and explain to him that you're looking to buy this, get his opinion of it, and if you buy the ammunition, more than likely he'll meet you at the range and let you put some rounds down range and get the feel. Plus, you're going to get the input from an owner that is more than likely put several magazines down range with this thing and may let you know of any hiccups or improvements that they would make if they did it again. Your local gun shop is your absolute best source.
They do have an indoor range of Ram pistols. I'll go see if they have that.
If they have, the thing would be the easiest for everybody concerned would be if they have one of those to rent and for you to put some lead down range with it. I urge you to do that, Scott, before you make a $500 mistake.
And Scott, if you would, after you do that, give us a holler back and let us know what you think of it.
Oh, I can do that.
Okay.
Good.
Thank
All
you.
right. Scott, good luck. We look forward to your report. We got a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 5th of February. If you're going to the Hear the Watchman conference, just go to my website. If you want to check it out, go to my website. You get the discount. If you go straight to their website, you don't get the discount. But if you go through my website, you get the discount to attend the event in Dallas, Texas. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look forward to seeing you there. Visiting with Jimmy Ginsling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That website is deserteagleshooters.com. Let's continue, Jimmy.
All right, sir. I'd like to bring something up, ladies and gentlemen, that happened at our last gun show down in Carlsbad that, to be quite honest with you, John, actually surprised me. And I'm not one that's real easily surprised, but this one really did. We've heard for the last several years about MS-13 and the hit squads and things like that, and we always think about someplace else. And Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, someplace other than us. Ladies and gentlemen, where we live, our towns around here are very small in comparison. I mean, Artesia is about, I think, 50,000 neighborhood. Carlsbad's about the same, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And at the Carlsbad Gun Show on Sunday afternoon, we were sitting there just talking with friends and carrying on business, and a young man walked up and was standing there listening as I was talking about training to another individual. And he waited very quietly, had a long-sleeve shirt on with a collar, and could tell he had a few tats on him, tattoos. And, just looked like a regular, everyday kid. I'm serious, ladies and gentlemen. Looked like someone that your kids might go to school with. Nice, clean cut. And as I was finishing up with this other customer and everything, I went to straighten out a few things, and the guy walked up and started talking to me about training and different things. And he had some friends of his that they wanted to get a little bit better trained in shooting sports and everything, and had all the right lingo, John. This is what was so interesting, and once I figured out what was going on, I really had to shift gears a little bit, and without letting on. But talking to him about different things, and then his friend showed up, and evidently he wasn't very far from him. He was just blocked by one of our displays. And this young man, again, really not a skinhead, but very closely cropped haired like the first one, clean cut, looked very nice, in a T-shirt, and right there on his neck were the huge tattoos of 13.
Right.
And under the ear, towards the back on this young man, when he turned his head, you could see the smaller MS-13 tattooed right there.
Right.
Now, this is right in the middle of a gun show, ladies and gentlemen, in southeast New Mexico. And we've heard about it for years. These people are here, etc., so on and so forth. Never put, we've heard gang problems out here and stuff, but mostly it's wannabes and punks. But this brought everything right home into our lap, because I realized what this guy was asking me to do. And I talked to him a little bit more and everything, and said that, get in touch with me. We could meet at the range in town and stuff. Somehow I forgot to give him a business card. So, oh well. But the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if they are that bold to dress nicely, no gang colors, no bandanas, no nothing, just look like regular school kids, and walk into a gun show, pay their money, walk around, be very polite, that tells you, ladies and gentlemen, the mentality of these people. That they will infiltrate right next to you before they start causing problems.
I'm interested. And, what kind of training were they interested in specifically?
The young man that I was talking to, the second young man didn't say very much at all. He did mention there was some rifle training, but the one that started off the conversation was primarily interested in long gun, and that's the way he put it, long gun training. Rifle marksmanship, being able to shoot better, and the things that normal people talk about as far that are new to rifles or new to the shooting sports. And what surprised me, and the more I thought about this, because Teresa stepped up and she was listening and willing to help if needed be. In fact, she asked the other young man if she could help him, and no, I'm with him. And she didn't catch on to the tap part of it, and I explained to her after they left and she was shocked. Because where she was raised and everything, they really didn't have these problems. And here we have our bottom of the hour break.
We do. We got a break coming up. The call number is 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 5th day of February. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. There's lots there. We get new visitors to my website every day of the week. The event in Dallas, there's a nice full-color banner there. Hear the Watchman Conference in Dallas, Texas, March 22nd, 25th. If you sign up there from my website, you get $20 off the conference rate or 20% off the live stream cost if you can't get there in person, so check that out. Something that's funny, it's good to have a little humor in the mix. If you keep scrolling down, you'll find something done by the British Broadcasting Company, BBC. Real Housewives of ISIS. It's a hoot. It's only about maybe 3 minutes or so, and I was hoping it would become some kind of a series, but they just did this one little deal, and it is funny. Also, of course, at my website, you'll find energy cleaners for sale. This is my home business. If you're dealing with arthritis pain, you will get relief. You will get relief. If you got joint pain, it will help. Back pain, it will help there also. Only $285, shipping included to American zip codes. The mattress pads that go with the energy cleaner, well, they vary in price, depending on if you want the twin size, the full, the queen, the king, California king. Everything's right there for sale at my website, where I take MasterCard, Visa, PayPal. PayPal is the most secure way to make any payment online, by the way. It's really handy. I use PayPal every day myself. You need to send a check or a money order? Well, you can do that. My address is right there. If you want to use my toll-free order line, here's my toll-free order line, 24 hours a day, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This is Firearms Monday, and we're visiting with Jimmy Gensling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters. That's deserteagleshooters.com. The call number, if you got a question or comment, anything related to firearms, the gun culture, firearms legislation, give us a call at 800-313-9443. Jimmy, have you had a chance to watch that little segment there on my website, Real Housewives of ISIS?
Yes, I have, and I've sent it to a couple of friends of mine that just, they just, one of them accused me of having to replace his keyboard because he spit coffee all over it.
Yeah, in this politically correct world, especially anything kind of out of England, I am shocked that the BBC would do anything like this. It's a hoot.
It is, and
it looks more like a Saturday Night Live skit than something the BBC would ever think about doing.
Yeah, and when it starts off, you actually think that it's a real interview type situation stuff.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they do a good job. The actors, the lighting, the camera work, it's all very professional.
Yeah, especially when they get describing which burqa they're going to wear.
Yeah, I know. It's a hoot. You got to have some fun in the mix. You got to have some fun in the mix. One of the things I learned in combat, Jimmy, one of the things I learned in combat is the guy who has no sense of humor in combat, he's going to get himself hurt and everybody else around him.
Exactly. And ladies and gentlemen, that's something about the military. You know, some of these guys are accused of having very dry humor, sometimes warped humor, but look at what they do. Sometimes it's real hard to find humor in serious situations, but these kids will do it left and right. But getting back to what we were talking about on MS-13, John, I've got a couple of appointments with a couple of our local Leos coming up here to discuss some of this. But the point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, is the preconceived notion, and this is what shocked me on it, John, the preconceived notion of what we see on the nightly news and the reports and all of the other information that's out there about gang activity. When you think of gang members, you think of guys with the bandanas and all of the, blazing tats and everything out there and attitudes. This young man was 180% out of sync from what you would expect. Just looked like a regular school kid. Good school kid, I'll put it that way.
No, I got a couple of questions for you. Were these young men Latino or Caucasian?
They were both Latino, sir.
And
down here,
did they speak English as a first language? Do you believe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so. No hint of an accent. Either they're lifetime U.S. or someone taught them very, very well, one or the other. But the point is this, ladies and gentlemen, you're in, and I talked to several other dealers after the fact, and they knew who I was talking about, but none of them put the 13 on the kid's neck that you could see it real clear. They never associated it. And when we were out having a smoke after that and discussing things, it was like, you guys really need to wake up a little bit more. And they were surprised. They were right. I mean, they agreed. They never considered thinking of a gang member coming in like that, so concealed, you might say, to blend in just for information. And as we talked to different dealers, these young men were interested in small. In fact, I think they bought a couple of private sales while they were in there and talked about different things and just regular customer type situation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think the point that I'm trying to make is don't be fooled. There are a couple of, one of them I think is the FBI website. I think it's called Gang Colors or Gang to Sing, just put in gangs on the FBI page. And they will show you common tattoos for different gangs that, and where they're located, that you can pick up on rather quickly. Educate yourself, because if these young men could walk right into a gun show and walk around, talk to dealers, gain information, and everything like that, and I could not have been the only one that picked up on it. I wasn't, actually. There were two others that actually figured out because of the second young man. If the second young man had not been there with the tat fully displayed, I would have never picked up on it the way this man had his collar. Because the only thing that you could see was about maybe the top half inch of the 1 and the 3, and you couldn't even tell that they were 1 and a 3. So, it's something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. If they're that brazen and that confident to walk, the confidence part is the part that got me, John. They were so confident walking in there that there were no problems, that they weren't going to cause any problems. They were in there on a mission to find items and maybe purchase and then leave. And the whole time, because I found out later that they did ask around at the gun show on anybody that taught training, not concealed handgun, but just long arm and handgun training. And several other people had directed them over to us.
Uh-huh.
And they finished the gun show and hit us last on the way out.
Uh-huh.
So, no, I haven't talked about that yet. Teresa just gave me a little note here about something. I wonder if I'd talk about it, and I'll get to it. Yep. But this, and thank goodness for a wife that's your secretary, John. I'd be lost without her. But this gang thing, ladies and gentlemen, educate yourself. This is very, very important. I'm finding out from one of the detectives that I talked to last week, just in passing, that they are getting more and more subtle in their gang colors. Used to, it was the bandanas or the hat or something that was easily distinguished from a distance, and now they are getting more and more subtle. And some of them have gone to, get this, a handkerchief in the back pocket with only just an inch or two of it showing, to show their gang affiliation.
Right, right.
And you and I grew up out in the country. A lot of our countries did. The guy walking around with a hanky in his back pocket is common as every day as Coca-Cola and apple pie.
Absolutely.
So at this time right now, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been following some different stories, and I'll email you some stuff later on here when I get them seen together, and we might talk about it on a Monday, or you might just use it and talk on another day. There are, thanks to our past POTUS, there are not 100,000 of these people in the U.S. We're talking, from the latest documents and things that I have seen, up into the millions. And they're not all Latino. We're talking about from the Arab countries, Middle East countries. We're talking from Philippines, from China. There are Africa. There are all manner of these people that were brought in by our previous administration, ladies and gentlemen. Remember at his very first, I believe it was either right after the inauguration or soon after, he made the speech that he needed an army that was as well equipped and as well trained as our military, a civilian army. And most people let that slide. They associated it with many different things, but I will never in my life forget that quote because it stunned me. I'd never heard a president talk like that. And
No, not at all.
more information that's coming down. I would be very cautious, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't leave the house unarmed, and some of you may not have handguns or anything like that at the time. You're looking at it to invest and get trained, but there are other options. Pepper spray is not my first choice. An asp, a cane, steel cane, or heavily made aluminum cane, anything that can be used as a weapon that looks everyday and common, learn to use it, utilize it, because I don't know, there's this gun show thing just really did bring it home for me.
It was a wake-up call, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was. And it I was actually embarrassed as to how shocked I was to it, because I've seen the kids out on the streets and in different parts of towns around here, but as clean-cut and nicely dressed as both of these kids were, gentlemen, young men, whatever you want to call them, were in that gun show, it shocked me. And it just brought it home. It was the wake-up call as to how subtle they're doing this. So, you know, keep attention, ladies and gentlemen, and go visit, look up websites on gang affiliation colors or distinguishing marks or tattoos or whatever, and learn what's in your region and what is national. And I'm not saying make a lifetime study of it, but familiarize yourself with it, because John has said many times, talking about the power of the subconscious mind. You remember everything that you've seen since you were a baby. And by looking at these tattoos or colors or things like that enough times, you've got it in your memory enough that if you're in shopping at Walmart and one of these walks by you, your senses go up. So I thought it was something that I needed to bring forward today. I was going to do it last week, but things were not, how should we say, receptive to it with traveling and everything else.
Right.
But,
Okay. Well, people need this. We call it situational awareness. You need to keep your situational awareness on a high level, so that you're always on the alert when you're out in public, and can be aware of these things ASAP. These young men were benign at the gun show, but we don't know what their connections are, what their belief systems are, what they would do if they were given instructions or orders. We simply don't know, do we?
No, sir. And it's the perfect example, ladies and gentlemen, of somebody pulling a recon. They're reconnoitering. They're going to the gun show. They're seeing what's available. Maybe the gangs had never thought about utilizing gun shows, and these guys went in to see what the reaction to them being in there was. One obvious, one not so obvious. Seeing what reactions were to either one of them. This is hindsight, ladies and gentlemen. It's always 20/20. But they're looking at what's available. They're looking at prices. They're looking at how easy it is to make a purchase. The one that had the visible tat, could he buy a handgun easier or harder than the guy that had the button-up shirt? I believe it was a well-planned recon mission, John. Just the way, and then I watched them the rest of the time that they were in there, and very polite, regular customer type thing. The one that was well-dressed was always 10, 15 feet in front of the other one, and he would stop like he was talking to me, and then the other one show up. So I think it was a real well set out recon job.
It certainly sounds like it. It has all the makings of being exactly what you said there, Jimmy.
Well, that's one reason why I wanted to bring it up, because you have far more experience in the field, in that line of work, and in that aspect of information. And if my assumption is correct with you, then I'm correct in what it is, and so I can talk about it more freely. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to watch out for this. And this could be the same way at county fairs, you guys may have a flea market out there where some guys sell off some different handguns or camping equipment or things like that. Garage sales, break.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold that thought, Jimmy. We got our last break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Monday, the 5th of February, visiting with Jimmy Gensling, the proprietor of Desert Eagle Shooters, DesertEagleShooters.com. And it is Firearms Monday. We're wrapping it up here after a great 2 hours of getting information out here, taking your questions and comments at 800-313-9443. Jimmy, I always look forward to Firearms Monday, don't you, sir?
I tell you what, sir, for me it's a perfect way to start the week. With our callers and the conversations that you and I have and everything, and what I've got to do during the upcoming week, it just kind of sets the stage for me. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have had any experience with what we've been talking about this last 30 minutes with the gangs and possible recon or anything that you may, drop me an email at Jimmy, J-I-M-I, at hdc-nm.com. I'd like to hear what you're experiencing there, or if you have contacts that have experienced something like that. I'd like to start putting together some information on this, because I think it's, with our experience and the way it took me back, I think it's something that we really need to focus on now as individuals and as a group. And you have to admit, John, you've got probably the largest intelligence gathering system right now in the United States with your listeners. So,
well, I don't know if it's the largest, but it's large, and I get a lot of great information.
Very large. Yes, sir. And so, ladies and gentlemen, just think about it. A little piece of information that you've witnessed, or your children or wife or husband or something has witnessed, could be the missing link to putting things together. And we need to stay together on this. As I get information, John, and I build things, I'll bring it to our listeners and let them know. And again, ladies and gentlemen, practice your training. Plan this week for at least a few hours of training. If not, contact me and I'll get you some information on dry fire training that you can do every evening or every morning, part of your wake-up schedule or your go-to-bed schedule. And let's all work to become marksmen, ladies and gentlemen. I almost said shoot to become marksmen, but I think working towards it to be better, John.
There you go. That's you got it.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's all work better to become better marksmen.
Absolutely. That's a goal. Let's make that a goal for this year. Everybody in 2018 become a better marksman.
That's it.
All
That's
right.
going to be our slogan for this year.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, we're brought out of time here. We're going to be cut off with music fairly soon. I want to thank you for being with us as always. Let's get that Skype thing squared away if we can before next Monday.
I'm
That'd
going
be
to work
great.
on it, and
Let's do that. Yeah.
we will make headway.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. It's good to have you with us, and we'll have you back next Monday. Okay. Tomorrow we have Leon Green, the second hour. Open lines the first hour. Wednesday we have Professor McCanny and my friend Jeff Nyquist the second hour, and we'll talk about connecting all the dots with communism. In the meantime, get your medical supplies, your energy cleaner, your essential oils now while you can. Your firearms and ammunition. Never ever give up your guns. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day, and God bless America.